This is Jefferson Davis over at blindphotography.us. Hope everyone's having a good day. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in time and space on this crazy, crazy planet. This is episode 3 of Blind Photography. So today I want to talk about film cameras and vintage cameras and eBay. And boy, do I have a story to tell. You can read it or listen to it over on blindphotography.us. So anyway, thanks for joining this crazy podcast on my journey to being completely blind at some point. I'm still doing film photography, not as much as I was because I'm learning having to learn new ways to do it. I am currently legally blind, not to talk about it a lot, but I am legally blind. I have 5 degrees left. That's pinhole of peripheral vision in one eye and completely blind in the other. So I'm pretty far gone in that respect, but I'm learning new things. I've been working with Braille a lot. I've learned all the uncontracted Braille at 53. I am fluent in uncontracted Braille. Still trying to speed up my reading comprehension with my fingers. So instead of reading with your eyes, you read with your fingers. It's a different experience, but it's actually using the same portion of the brain that reading with your eyes uses. So it's very important to continue to read in one form or another. Listening to audiobooks is, inspiring and, well, depending on the book, and wonderful when you do learn stuff, but it's not activating that part of the brain as much. So continuing to read with Braille is very important to me. And it's a way to communicate with people that is tactile. And that's something that once you start going blind, you really need that tactile response. You're losing one sensory perception, so you're wanting, another one to make up for it. And Braille does that. And Braille, I also, since we talked last, I got a Brailler, so I can type out letters to my wife, who can't really read Braille, but she's working on it. And to friends at the Blind Center down in Phoenix, Arizona. ACBVI, great people down there. I highly recommend donations to them. They're really great. They're asking for donations right now because they provide lunches for blind people who, for all of us, but especially most of us at the center, at least over half are working or on the way to working or in school to go back to work, in a program through vocational rehab. But there is a segment of the people there who are of retirement age and are blind, and because of that are very poor, and somewhat, I would say, poor. Okay, there's no harm in saying the word poor. Okay, but those people are very poor. And they depend on those meals and that social interaction that they get 5 days a week at the center. Or sometimes they can only come 2 or 3 days, but they depend on that. So if you can donate to ACBVI, it's A as in apple, C as in cat, B as in boy, V as in Victor, I as in Isaac. So acbvi.org. Go donate for their lunch. They have a donation drive right now. We're going to be doing soon. They'll be doing they have a band, and those guys are awesome. So we'll be doing a band soon, and I'll definitely let you guys know when that's going to happen. And I've been really involved with them, and I'm only down there 1 day a week, but trying to help them from home as well. Anything that I can do to help other people that are in the same situation. So enough about that. Let's talk about cameras. So I saw an article on, let's see, what was it on? I had it up here on my show notes, and now I've lost it. So F-Stoppers did a article on, I believe the name of it was something about why modern photographers don't understand anxiety of only having 36 shots. And that's true. If you were a film photographer back in the day, and let me get everything going again here. Sorry, just trying to see. if you were a film photographer back in the day doing a wedding venue or some other event venue, you have it's a job to do that sort of work anyway. I've done weddings. I've never done well, I have done one event, um, but mainly weddings. I live in Arizona, but I'm originally from South Carolina, in case I didn't clearly put that out there. That's why I have an accent, but I love Arizona, and I hope to retire here, continue living here for the rest of my life, but it depends on a lot of situations. But all that aside, you not only had to deal with the normal chaos that is a wedding, you also have to deal with the fact that let's say the first kiss, right? You have to wonder, okay, how many frames are left on this? Of course, you have a frame counter and semi-modern, 50-year-old camera. But okay, I've got 12 shots left. Is that going to be enough to get the first kiss? Am I going to get it? Am I going to capture it? Is my shutter speed right? Is my aperture right? Um, what film do I have in here? Is that the right film for this shot? So there is a lot of anxiety, and most people. I didn't shoot weddings during the analog time. I considered offering it as a extra fee. So I usually had a second shooter, and I could shoot analog. But I never shot it as a singularly as analog, so I don't know the anxiety of it in that respect. But outside of that, it is more economical to buy a 36 shot roll than 24 because um, you're getting more bang for your buck there. However, excuse me, in my current situation, doing landscapes and around town here because I can't drive or ride a bike or anything anymore. It takes me a long time to use up 36 shots unless I'm just wasting it and it's too expensive to waste. So it takes me a long time. I apologize for the titter tatter and the squeakiness. That is the dogs coming in and out of the doggy door and tippy tapping over here. And hey, Dad, what are you up to? And then going back outside, which is going to make a squeaky noise again. It's what they do. Um, so I do understand the anxiety. Like when I have been doing photos, sports stuff with film. There's always anxiety you're gonna use the last frame. When you get within 4, you just want to rip it out and put in another roll. But nowadays, considering I don't do any of that anymore, I don't have that anxiety. It takes me weeks to use 36 exposures. Because I go out generally every day, but I don't always. I usually take a camera, but I don't always photograph. The thing about the desert or the high desert where I live at 5,000 feet is there's not a lot of clouds. We do get cloudy days and really nasty days, and we're in a monsoon season, but still we're not getting a lot of rain right now. So there's not a lot of clouds. If I walk outside right now, it's all blue skies, and that's especially on the black and white photo, that's boring. Um, Depending on the subject matter, right? But you have to learn to make the most out of those blue skies and do what you can with them. But so I don't shoot a lot. Now, if we go anywhere, like if we go up on the Mogollon Rim, about 30 minutes from here, that's another, I believe it's 2,000 feet up. You have to look it up, the Mogollon Rim. It's a really cool spot. Beautiful place. I've never been anywhere like it in my life. It's an amazing place to go. But it is spelled Mogollon, but because it's a Spanish name, the two L's make a Y sound, Mogollon, but there's no I in it, so we just call it Mogollon Rim. But I hear people, and I hear a lot of people are using AI now to make informative videos. They're using AI, Chat GPT, to make these informative videos that they're getting, a lot of hits on about areas like Payson, Arizona, where I live. And that's okay, but instead of saying Mogollon, it says Mogollon, Mogollon. It's like it doesn't know how to pronounce it. So it's pretty funny to listen to this stuff. And a lot of people just don't know. And it's like I used to mispronounce pollo, polo. I called it polo chicken. Chicken's polo. It's pollo. So I didn't grow up in a Spanish speaking area of the country. I didn't grow up in Arizona. So, in fact, I don't remember seeing a Hispanic person until I was in my 20s. So I know a lot of Spanish now. I've learned a lot over the years, and I had a good friend from Venezuela, and another friend from Guatemala, and another friend. The one that taught me the most, he was from Honduras, and Mexican friends. So, over the years, I've learned a lot, and I'm always trying to learn more, not just average conversations, but a little bit extra. But when my situation with being blind, it's a little more difficult because I can't read. But anyway, that aside, so am I anxious of running out of film? No, I am anxious of the price of film, very much so. So I'm going to go right now live right here with you. Well, you're probably going to listen to this tomorrow, actually, because I have to go to work here shortly. So we're going to go over to Freestyle Photo, and I've got this the text maxed out here, so I can actually somewhat at least read the prices. I'm still good with numbers. Right now, the cheapest film is Arista 100 for $419. That's a 36 exposure raw. And a Hoga 400 looks like that's 120. So that's $479. And then there's some clearance stuff, clearance foam pan, Wolfen. So you can still get some cheap film. It's not as cheap as it was. I prefer. Now I'm going to bring Kitmere. Kitmere film is what I prefer. That's my favorite film, if I have a choice. The professional Ilford film is awesome, and Kodak, Tri-X is awesome, but it's so dang expensive. Ilford FP4, I have always thought it to be too grainy for my liking, or the type of grain. I don't know what it is. I just don't like it. Some people love it, and that's good for you. We've got choice. It's a good film. It's a good archival film. But I've never liked the grain structure of it, and I think it's too grainy for what it is. 125 speed, but I always shot it at 100 or 80, but it still had too much grain, even with 510 pyro for my liking, right? If somebody gave me a bunch of FP4, I would definitely take it, but it's just too grainy. I like grain, but not. I don't want it to be the whole image, I don't want the grain to be the whole. When somebody looks at a picture, all they see is grain. I don't want that. Sometimes you want some straight, grainy grit, and it's good for that, especially if you shoot it at 400, let's say, and push it. You can get that grit, but you can get the same thing out of Kitmere 100 by shooting it at 200. Now they have the Kitmere 200, which is awesome. You can push that to 400. It's a good universal film, but I don't have experience with it because I've not had a chance to buy any, and it did go up in price because of tariffs. So that was their excuse. It is a reality. Is it a reality as such that they like to whine about constantly? No, it's political. So I had a list of things here, and now I'm struggling. So film is awesome. And then I saw an article where I believe it was Thomas Heaton, YouTuber. He's a pretty big guy now. I've been following him for a long time. Nice guy, an English dude. I believe he's English. Yeah. Made a video. His film still relevant. His film's still cool. Yes, it is. But and I agreed with what he said in the video, because I did listen to it. I don't really watch videos anymore. I just listen. I do sometimes try to watch them on the much bigger screen, but I mainly listen to movies and videos now, so that's not a big deal. But does it have the niche and the coolness and the awesomeness that it did have? No, it's kind of waned a little bit, but it's going to be around. They're coming up with new film stocks all the time. There's always something going on with film, so I believe it's going to be around a long time. But that's not only my view, that's a lot of people have the same feeling about it. Is film photography still cool in 2025? That was it. But Cinestill still coming out with stuff all the time. They're trying to come out with new stuff, and I believe film's going to be around a long time. It may get more expensive than it is, which is already, pretty tough for the average Joe that wants to buy quality film. But I believe that it's going to be around a long time coming. I have a little stockpile over here, but I don't have a lot. In the summer, it is so bright and it is so hot here. Really, the only thing you can shoot with is either lower speed, about 100 is as high as you want to go, because the sun is so bright, and we don't have a lot of cloudy days. So I have an abundance of 400 speed tint mirror over here that's 6 months old. You just don't use it that much here. If we got a lot of rain over a protracted period, then I would use more 400, obviously. But I use older cameras. That was my segue. And I know I'm not supposed to say that, but, I had to laugh at myself. So I use a lot of older cameras, and they have lower shutter speeds. So you need lower speed film, because if I stick 400 in there and it's, let's say EV value of 15 outside, which is about average for the middle of the afternoon here in, at 5,000 feet, EV 15 is pretty much going to cover you. And if you don't know, that's, I don't remember exactly who came up with the exposure value EV, but Kodak used it, a lot of Zeiss Icon used it. They all used it at some point, to make things easier. It would lock in the shutter speed and the aperture depending on the EV number. So you could look at your light meter, and it would give you an EV number, and you lock that in, and then you could go with a slower shutter speed or a higher shutter speed, and it would just change the aperture with it. So lock the two rings together, which when I first started shooting again, I didn't care for that. I felt like I was losing the freedom, to do what I wanted. But now that I can't see, I can feel the clicks on the EV chart on the retinas. So I actually like it a lot. Set it and forget it. So this is why I normally shoot much lower film speeds. I don't shoot 400. I don't need 800, and I don't need 3200. Maybe in the winter when it's, snow's coming down and the clouds are heavy and gray, maybe I need 400 film that I can push to 800 if absolutely necessary. But if I shot more modern film cameras a lot, then I could see that. Something that would go to 1,000th or 2,000th of a second. But I don't shoot a lot of those. I shoot, the folders a lot, and they're slow. Well, the retinas are 1/500th of a second, which is pretty fast, because my best Portland or Vito, the Vito 2A has a Compure rapid shutter, and it goes to 1/300th. And that actually came out after my Retina 2C. So let me tell you my eBay adventure, and then I will bid you guys a good afternoon or morning, whatever it is to you. So a few weeks ago, actually a month ago now, I saw on eBay a Retina 3C. Now the 2C is an amazing camera, but it has an f2.8 lens. The 3C, small C, there's the small C and the big C. Love Kodak. So the small C and the 3C both have a light meter. The small C has a 2-range light meter. Basically, when the little shutter thing is down, it's for darker elements, lower light. When it's flipped, or for a lot of light, like when I'm outside, right? So it's 2 different ranges of light. It's a more accurate meter than the big C. So I saw a 3C, and it comes with a light meter. It has a f2 Xenon, amazing tack sharp lens on it. That's the camera I really like to have because it has a light meter. It can tell me the EV number without me having to get out my phone or a light meter. The more crap I have to carry around, the less I want to do things. It's just at this stage of my life, I can't see hardly anyway. So I use my phone as a magnifier more than I do anything else. So I think he was wanting $60 for it, $59.99, and you can make an offer on some stuff depending on the seller. So I made an offer for $40, and they took it. So 2 days later, it was at the post office. I was like, cool. So that was on like a Saturday, and then Monday it was at the post office. They had possession of it, and this person was in Washington State. I do not recall the town in Washington State, but it wasn't a big town. It wasn't Seattle or anything. It was somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, Washington State. So on Monday it was in Washington. On Tuesday it was in Portland, Oregon. On Wednesday it was in Los Angeles. So I'm like, yeah, this thing's going to get here pretty quick. And then on Thursday of that week, it was in transit, whatever that means, in between places. Then on Friday it popped up in Phoenix. I'm like, great. Usually if something pops up in Phoenix at the distribution center, then it'll be up here in Payson, an hour and a half drive away, the next morning for them to deliver. So theoretically, it got here on Friday. It should have been delivered on Saturday. That would have been perfect. That would have been, a week. That would have been great. And the seller unfortunately used USPS Ground Advantage with the cheapest shipping you can have. I actually like USPS, but only if my experience is me personally, when I sell something, I only use priority mail. That is the only option you have. I do not give you other options because it will get to you faster. It will get to you less damaged, and it'll actually arrive when it's supposed to. So back to the story. So it arrived in Phoenix on Friday. It said it was still in Phoenix on Saturday, so it was not brought up here like it should have been. It said in Phoenix Sunday. It said in Phoenix Monday. It's three business days it was in Phoenix. And then on Tuesday, I called. I'm like, what's going on? The post office didn't know. They didn't understand either. They didn't have a reason for it. So then it ended up, it said in transit again, but it did not give a location. And then like 3 more days went by, and it was back in Los Angeles. And then it went back to Portland, Oregon, and the next day. And then it went back to Washington. So I called again. They didn't know what was going on with it. So then, sorry, give me just 1 second. So then it ended up back in Washington again. So I'm like, what the heck's going on? I guess, and then the seller, I did complain, and they refunded me the shipping because I said, please don't ever. They charged me about double what they should have for shipping, and I called them on it because I know what shipping costs. I mean, it costs $12. It is the cheapest rate from Washington State, where they live, to my house. It's a long way, but they charged me almost double that for shipping, so it was ridiculous. I called them on it, and they refunded me for it, and I'm very appreciative of that. And I'm not hating on the seller. This wasn't their fault necessarily. They shipped it out on time. It's just post office and cheap shipping. Do not use Ground Advantage cheap shipping because you will go through the same chaos that I went through. So that's 2 weeks gone. So then the following Monday, it was back in Portland, Oregon, and then went to Los Angeles and sit there for 2 days or 1 day. I can't remember. Then it was in Avondale, Arizona, which I think is east of Phoenix, and then back in Phoenix. And then finally, on Saturday, last Saturday, it showed up at our door. The box was a little beaten, battered, and I told the seller that if it was damaged at all, I wanted my full refund. So I videotaped opening the box, and I've ordered a lot of stuff over the years, but this is the worst experience I've ever had with the post office in this regard. So I opened up the box, and it was very well wrapped. The seller did a good job of wrapping it. And it was still in its leather case. But please don't leave them in the leather cases. It causes corrosion. It causes all kind of problems with cameras. It's bad for them. Because the leather is porous and it sweats, and it causes corrosion. The leatherette is porous, and then it causes corrosion between the aluminum and the steel on the camera. It can take a camera that would last 100 years and kill it in 20 years just by leaving it in that case. So please don't leave them in the cases, even though they look pretty. So I got the camera, and I opened it up, and I racked the advance lever one time. It felt a little funny, but it was enough to cock the shutter, and I hit the shutter release, and it released, but it was a little weird. Then I went to do it again, and it really felt weird. And then the advance lever didn't go all the way back. So I'm like, oh boy, I know what this is. Chris Sherlock, and I have recommended him before, is a brilliant, he was a Kodak engineer. He repaired cameras. He lives in New Zealand. He's a Kiwi. Really nice guy, though. And he'll answer your questions if you go on his videos. He's retired now, but he still works on cameras just for fun now. Maybe a little side money, but mainly for fun. But I've seen him go through the same thing. I knew instantly, and just from experience from other people, I knew what it was. I knew it was a cocking rack. I was hoping it was savable, so I took the top off, and sure enough, the cocking rack, which is this piece of metal, it has gear teeth cut into it that ride on the advance lever gear, and then it's notched and cut in a way that it pushes another gear under the top plate that advances the shutter and cocks the shutter. The Voigtlander didn't have this problem because you had to manually cock the shutter on the Voigtlanders. You didn't run into this kind of issue. But and the older Kodaks didn't have this problem. It is the cocking rack is the Achilles heel of all the Retinas, or the 2C, the 3C, the 2S. There's like 6 different models that use that same cocking rack, and they all have the same problem. I mean, some cameras don't have this problem. I have ordered a replacement that I found cheap. Hopefully, it won't have this problem because I'm not going to buy another one. I will sell it all off. But they all have this same problem with the cocking racks, and it's one of the few things. The few things. Checking my time here. Okay, yeah, we're about out of time. There's a few things it can be. It can be there's a screw with a like a guide on it that sits right up against the cocking rack, right as it goes to the gear to wind the actual shutter. And that screw, they were ahead of their time in their design system, but there were some flaws. But instead of fixing them, they just kept doing it. But otherwise, I love the Kodak, the Retinas. That screw can get loose over time because there's a piece of steel riding across it all the time. And if it gets loose, the cocking rack gets loose. So the gears skip over the teeth and then it rounds the teeth out, right? Or the gears on the advance lever shaft. So either way, it's detrimental. Those gears usually don't wear out. It's usually the gears on that cocking rack. They're designed to wear out versus they're a softer metal than the actual advanced lever shaft gear. So it could be that, and there is another screw that holds that whole assembly together. So if either one of those gets loose, then it can cause a little bit of play, which will round off those gear teeth. It can also be, let's say, it's been sitting in the drawer for 20 years, right? And you go to use it, or a kid grabs it and goes to use it, and it doesn't want to advance because the shutter's stuck. Shutter grease gets, especially in the cold, it turns into concrete. And when it's old and it's cold outside, or it's cold wherever the camera is, and it won't operate, it won't, advance the shutter. So when you try to force it, you have the teeth get sheared off by forcing it. And there's a couple other things that can happen. The backside of the cocking rack, and I have a picture of this on my website, blindphotography.us/blog. You can click on the blog when you go to the main website and check it out. That shows a picture of this. So that can get kind of wallowed out the backside, depending on how roughly people have been using the advanced lever, and that can cause some play and round those teeth off. So, and there's a couple other reasons, but that's your main ones. They just get wore out, or screws come loose. It's one of those things, or somebody's trying to force something to. If it doesn't want to advance, don't make it. Or they run out of film. A lot of times this will happen. You don't set the frame counter right, and you got to wind it, and it's out of film, and then you start ripping your film up. So I cleaned the camera. I did everything possible to tighten up that little bit of play that was there. But the teeth are so worn, it just skips. If I advance it, it'll get stuck because it's skipping teeth as it's advancing. So it's not fully advancing the shutter. So I went on eBay and I found another one. First I looked for cocking rack, and there are some on there for $40 a piece, new old stock. And in a way, they're worth that, but so somebody had a 3C on there with a warranty. That's important. And they were asking 45, I think, and I offered them 35, and they took it. So I have another camera on its way. I don't have a lot of money, but it should be here today, and I will give you a follow-up on that one to see if it works. If I can if it's fully functional, then I'll just use it and sell the other one. somebody can use it for parts because the lens is in great condition. Every other part of that camera works. The light meter, it's all great. It's stupid cocking rack is busted. And you can't, Kodak doesn't sell them anymore. You can't just go buy one. You have to either buy another camera or buy parts from somebody who's, stripped the camera down. So that's the choices I have at the moment. But other than that, life's good. No worries from me. Um, I hope that film prices come down, or furthermore, the camp mirrors and stuff come down eventually. Um, but what have you guys been up to? This is Jefferson Davis over at blindphotography.us. Go check out the website. Check out my articles about the 3C and the 2C. I've written extensive articles about them, very detailed. So go check them out and let me know what you think. It's Jefferson Davis over at blindphotography.us signing out. Have a great day. Thank you.